Our theme this month, as we've mentioned many times, is the Art of Mindfulness. And today, the topic is in this moment. The Art of Mindfulness in this moment. As you know, in this month's Science of Mind magazine, there are several articles that are centered around the topic known as mindfulness. And as I've shared with you the last 2 weeks, that caused me to wonder what that word mindfulness means to different people. So this month I am addressing in our Sunday talks and also in our midweek gatherings the messages from the magazine, hence the theme, the Art of Mindfulness. So the title of today's talk, In This Moment, is from the article by Alfred James in the magazine, and our focus is on mindful listening. Oh, wow. Did you hear that? What did you think? What did she hear? What was it? What did I miss? I'm just funning you a little bit. I didn't hear anything you didn't hear. I just heard my words express mindful listening. And I know that everyone here is already familiar with the art of mindful listening. That's not a guarantee that everyone in the world around us is familiar with mindful listening. And as an example, when one is engaged in dwelling in the past, or one is focused on what the future might bring, one is not likely to be here now, as we talked about last week. Hence, mindful listening is also not likely to be in the present moment. Now, the student of metaphysics, the person who watches and reads self-help writings, the follower of self-improvement practices, is much more likely to be aware of and conversant with those techniques and practices which provide in-the-moment awareness. In affirmative prayer, for example, I am aware of my communion or my connection with the source of my being. In studying and evaluating the ideas and exercises of self-help writings, I'm focused on those suggestions and directions, often to the exclusion of all else around me in those moments. And in following self-improvement practices such as yoga, tai chi, qigong, and a myriad of others that have been brought to our Western world in recent times, I'm intent upon the movement, the pauses, the connection between mind and body working in harmony. So each of these three are examples of ways to be in the present moment, personally, body and mind unified in alignment. And often, even though I'm in close proximity to others, I'm focused on the inner experiences that I'm having as I practice one or more of these three awareness moments. So now, let's add another dimension to that. Let's open our ears, as James, who is a mindfulness coach and author, suggests. Let's open our ears to external sound in a non-judgmental way. Because so much of what we see and hear on a daily basis, he says, is influenced by our past experiences. We're constantly running into it through that filter of our past experiences, such that empowering the art of non-judgment is in itself learning to practice mindfulness. James uses as an example an exercise in listening to a piece of music that you've never heard before. And he suggests that you do this in a place where you can be alone with the music, adjusting the volume and the direction of that music to your own liking. Close your eyes, release any knowledge of the composer, the title, the performer, even the arrangement of that music. Just stay fully present in the journey of sound for the duration of that song. This may not sound like this is much of a challenge, but if you do as I did this past week and choose a piece of music that you have not had a positive relationship with in the past, it's a fascinating experience. So what he says is, if the music isn't to your liking to begin with, just let go of that opinion for the duration of this one song. And give your awareness full permission to climb inside what you're listening to, hearing and dancing among those sound waves. The idea, he reminds us, is to just listen, to become fully entwined with the composition itself, without preconception, without judgment of the genre, the artist, the lyrics, or the instrumentation. Fascinating experience. Now let's introduce this art of mindful listening to another level. And actually, there are several levels that can be considered as time permits this morning. So I'll address as many as I'm able to time-wise. And then we can also address this in our midweek gatherings if you have particular areas that you would like to pursue. So the first listening dimension that I'd like to address is that of listening to people we personally know and love. This may seem like a slam dunk to us. How often, when we listen to loved ones and friends talk, however, we're doing one of three or more things. Here's one. We're really planning what we're going to say in response to what we're hearing. Here's another. We're really editing what they are saying through our own filters. And here's the third one. We are evaluating, and that's a gentle way of saying judging. We are evaluating just who and what they really are. Wow, we're busy, aren't we? Sometimes we're so busy in our own minds that we miss something of significance being said. And in the process, we miss the opportunity to honor them by honoring that they are saying. Often when friends and loved ones share their thoughts and feelings with us, what they really want is someone to listen to them. Which is why I just said honoring them that they are saying. Mindful listening, then, is providing an opportunity for those that we care about to hear their own thoughts, concerns, fears in a safe environment. And safe means keeping it close to our own heart from the standpoint of keeping it to ourselves rather than making an inappropriate decision to tell others about it. So, suspending our advice and resisting our impulse to edit or judge their words is a conscious decision to practice mindful listening. And it's being comfortable with the knowledge that when others want our input or our advice, they'll ask for it. So here's a further expansion now of mindful listening. And it has to do with listening to others who we may know casually, or perhaps not at all personally. What we do then is usually very similar to what we do when we listen to those close to us. One, we're often planning what we're going to say in response. Two, we're editing what they're saying through our own filters. And three, we're judging who and what they really are in our opinion. And while this area of mindful listening has lots of variations in it, depending upon the individual situation, there are some common guidelines from listening to those close to us that apply here as well. So here's the first guideline. Hear those thoughts and ideas through mindfully. Second, release the impulse to challenge or change them in the moment. And three, after mindfully reviewing what we have heard, deciding then, and only then, what, if any of it, is for absorption into our own body of experiences. And now I have an add-on to this talk, specifically for those of us who live here on this island. Because this morning at 6:43 a.m., we had an earthquake. Everybody awake to hear it? Anybody get wakened by it? More heads nodding yes now. Waimea, feel it at all up there?
I was working.
You were? Oh, okay. Well, talk about a time for mindful listening. I was born, raised, and lived the first 70 years of my life in California, primarily Southern California. Earthquakes are a regular part of life in Southern California, such that the common response to an earthquake, or the beginning of an earthquake, is usually, oh, it's another earthquake. Unless it begins to throw things from the shelves and cupboards, it's pretty much, no, it's another earthquake. So when this one began this morning, my first thought was, it's just another earthquake. But there was another reaction too that I'd like to share with you. I listened. I really listened. Because where I have previously lived, there is a sound that precedes a big one, a big earthquake. It's a sound that's unmistakable once you've heard it. And I hadn't heard it in those seconds before the shaking began or while it continued. So as the movement began to lessen, I realized I was verbalizing, and I was actually doing it out loud, saying, all is well, all is well, all is well. So indeed, life gives us messages, examples, and support in the experiences of our lives when we're listening, even in the midst of an earthquake. As you know, with the intention of being mindful in our listening skills, we can hear or not hear what we can use for our own highest and best good, and for the highest and best good of those around us. Because my texting lit up too in that moment. So we've addressed mindfulness in our own beliefs and patterns. We've looked at using mindfulness in observing and awareness. And now this morning, in mindfulness in listening. Our attention to this art is in practicing mindful listening this week. So here's the suggestion. Pick an area in each of these three that I've talked about. Listening to a new sound or idea for ourselves. Listening with suspended judgment or the tendency to edit what others are saying. And listening without prejudice to the noises of the outside world in order to further extend our skills in observation and awareness. By next week, we'll be primed and ready for our next steps in the art of mindfulness, which are immersion and appreciation. And so it is.